inspection policy is one of them. Is this a plan to continue in terms of inspection department in regards to vehicles? Yes. The interest expense of the collective sector, what is our limit? And if we take on this loan, will it exceed our limit? This answer was provided, I think, earlier by Minister of Finance. And if not, I'll, maybe the Minister, the MP could let me know, but I think the Minister of Finance already responded to this. Costs cut, but projections were cut. So costs wasn't cut, but projections were cut. If they were revenue generation items that this current government removed, like WENER, the tax levy, the inspection, what revenue generation items since May of this year was presented by this government? 1% excise tax from gas was removed. Why? The final part was to have an entity attached. The legislation was done by TIAT, who worked alongside ECYS. Cuts will come with revenue generation being removed, and what was it replaced with? Is the government not working on policies for revenue generation, and is there no policy from TIAT? The answer to that question by MP Arian, the Ministry of TIAT does have policies that can be revenue generations, like the one we just mentioned before, the LBHAM, that will be going into effect via the national decree for lotteries, lottery booths, etc., before the end of Q4. However, to be realistic, we cannot only account for said revenues in 2025. We're working closely within the various ministries to do the necessary in preparations for Budget 2025, where more details can be shared on what these policies and revenue generating items will be. For the record, the legislation in regard to the 1% excise tax was not drafted by Minister of TIAT. The former Minister of ECYS was spearheading this project with the department and SOAB. The Ministry of ECYS can further elucidate on their progress to date. Next, I move on to questions posed by MP York. Series of lottery booths, questions asked to the Minister of Finance. So they'll pose them, he will be posing them to me now, and it relates to the answers provided, more piggybacking from MP Arian. If I am a booth holder, I have 10 booths versus someone with 20, but we are paying the same taxes. In regard to the revenue generation ideas, what is the plan in regards to legislation to tackle such issues in regards to branch licenses versus operational licenses? Again, please refer to the answer regarding to the pending national decree. I think I answered that question there. Then MP York asked about online gambling. Major pet peeve is all the regulations of the bank, where you get asked all these questions based on being on the gray list by FIU due to lack of legislation. What are the plans in regard to the legislation when it comes to this? So the CBCS, the central bank, regulates the banking sector, while the Financial Intellectual Unit, the FIU, oversees designated non-financial businesses, including gambling providers. Compliance with their respective laws and international best practices is required. Questions about these legislation agendas should be directed to the relevant regulators or the Ministers of Finance and Justice. As for TIAT, existing online gambling regulations are being updated with new rules and customer protection and addiction prevention added to meet the international standards. This will be done under the gambling, the H2 project from Country Package, which is the gaming board. Yes, the gaming board. Thank you, MP La Cruz. Next question by MP York. Did the airport commence the repayment of the loan granted by government in 2019 and 2018 and 2019? If not, why? And if yes, please indicate how much has been recouped to date. According to the responses received by PGIA, the loan payments, debt service to government will start in Q1 of 2027. To date, no payments have been made for the World Bank or the government of St. Martin's loan. Debt service payments will be made twice a year. Then MP York asks, the throughput fees. Please elaborate explanation in Parliament regarding the fuel clause. What is the cost comprised of and how is it calculated? The fees, how is it calculated? The fees, what goes to the government from the cost and what percentage goes to government and other entities? A pie chart of the fees and if it goes to entities, who are these entities? So just general, the throughput fee. So the throughput fee was established in 2007 by the Island Council, being 4 guilder cents, and was approved and increased in 2012 by the then Minister of TIAT to 4.4 guilder cents for GB and airline fueling at PGIA and 8 cents for all the other liquid bulk imports such as gasoline and gas line. So based on the introduction of the throughput fee, Port St. Martin commenced with a contribution for the concession totaling 5.2 million guilders per year through 2017 and then 4 million per year thereafter up and including 2024. To date, the port has contributed more than 70 million guilders to concession fees to government. Then, next question by MP York. A couple months ago, a campaign promise was made by Minister of ECYS and TIAT in regards to the cooling system for the LB Scott Road, the LB Scott Auditorium. What is the status of this, especially since there are a lot of activities taking place there now? The installation of an air conditioning system at the LB Scott Auditorium is a collaborative project between the Minister of ECYS and TIAT. Indeed, we have finalized the draft terms of the reference to TOR for the public tender, and the advice is currently making its rounds. The tender announced will be made public once a decision is made. A couple of years ago, question again posed by MP York, numerous studies were done by MinVSA on gambling problems and addiction. Giving example of MP Meyer's example of hotels that are having 200 or more rooms falls within the category of having casino license. What is the minister's position on those laws? As co-legislation, we make and amend and reappeal laws. So if there is undeniable evidence that people are suffering from gambling addiction, and we have more of these entities built by the year, what is the minister's sentiment in regards to under 200 or more rooms can apply for a license? I haven't had the opportunity yet, MP York, through you, Madam Chair Lady, to review the reports that the MP is referring to. However, I know that gambling addiction is a serious affliction that affects many families in our society. In terms of regulations and regarding requirements for casino licenses, I will review the reports mentioned and other relevant information and discuss this with my colleagues of public health. Important to note is that this too, as mentioned before, is taken up into the establishing the Gaming Control Board. Next, I move over to questions posed by MP Duran. With respect to the causeway, in the permit agreement to build the causeway, there is a clause where the port would contribute to Union Road. The government repaired the road 2 years ago on Wancho Road to the port. Are the funds coming from the port or are they coming from government coffers via the CAPEX funds for the road repair? The discussion was had at the time, this is the answer from the port, related to the upgrade of the Union Road. However, the following factors made it not achievable, such as, but not limited to, government was to acquire properties along the Union Road to allow said road to expand. Port was to be granted a tax exemption for TOT for the causeway construction, which did not materialize. The port paid more than 3.5 million guilders in TOT. And lastly, the fact that the airport roundabout development and the cost were initially intended to be covered by PGIA, of which the port paid 9 million guilders. The works included revetments, connection of the shoulder road to the bridge, and the expansion of the airport road, and the roundabout and associated beautification of the area. MP Rand also mentioned that he heard a number being mentioned in what is being owed to the causeway loan and that the port and what the port is paying. So how much has the causeway cost the people of St. Martin from 2014 to now, and how much is exactly owed? Figures thrown around need to have a clear answer. Leave out throughput fees, container fees. What is the cost? I know that they were busy trying to sell it, but it would he would like to have clarity based on what is asked. So currently, the outstanding on the loan in total attributing to the causeway is 47,553,598. The repayment as seen in the below table, which I have provided the members of parliament, significantly in the coming years, it will be concluded in 2035 as the port repays. So let me give a little breakdown. So right now this year, in 2024, it's at 47, like I mentioned, 47 million. Then let's say by 2028, it'll be by 35 million. By 2030, it'll be by 26 million. And scroll down to 2034, the final payment will be 3 million. So an entire chart listing this from 2024 to 2034 is also in the on the list and is provided clearly to Parliament. Then MP Duran asked, how many people within the ministry are working outside of their function and are they being compensated? Currently, there are 4 individuals in the ministry working outside of their designated function, and yes, they are being compensated. How far are you with the SDA and any concrete plans and start date? What is the start goal and date of the ministry? We in the ministry are dedicated to establishing the SDA as a priority. To ensure successful implementation, we engage in stakeholder consultation with various industry associations. Our approach will be inclusive, involving both government and representatives and industry stakeholders in the development and implementation of the SDA. And this collaborative process aims to avoid past pitfalls and create a fair and transparent framework. The advice will be handled in the Council of Ministers in the coming weeks, and thereafter concrete timelines for the SDA will be established soon. Now I move over to questions posed by MP Otley. I'm going to take my time for these questions and answers. So, first question posed by MP Otley. The hotel tax, which we spoke about. The hoteliers did not mind the increase in the hotel tax. So that is another option. There's also that $1 safety fee via airport was slated to start based on a letter sent through the COM. Could you let me know if it did start and if it was allocated in the budget? Seeing someone say yes, so if so, clarify. Okay, so the PGIA has allocated the $1 for the security fee per LB of 2019. The parties have set a start date in Q4 of 2023, which must be formalized with the existing government. An estimated amount of 750 to 850 per year can be allocated for this upon the this is the answer by the airport. But upon his recommendation, it was decided in COM. Well, that's based. So as estimated amount of 550,000 to 850,000 per year can be allocated for this. Period. That's the answer by the airport. And then it follows with me stating that upon my recommendation, it was decided in COM this year, July 30th of this year, that the security fee as required by law will no longer be waived. I subsequently sent a letter to the PGIA holding informing them that this decision and requesting them to initiate the payment of the fee by PGIA. We are in the process of establishing a protocol for billing and receipt, and this was a calm decision to make sure get the payments. And I think it was I remember when we did a calculation, it's amounting to between 4 million, 5 million that we can get in now. I'm trying to get it in as soon as possible, especially with the budget cuts. How much is the exact amount the port pays for the Causeway Bridge? So the construction of the causeway, this is answered by the port, the construction of the causeway was financed through a bond, a loan issue. The loan will be fully paid off, as mentioned before, by 2035, 11 years from now. The yearly loan